Chelsea reclaimed the first spot in the WSL table after beating Manchester United at home 1-0. On the other side of London, Spurs lose their 9th consecutive WSL game and fall into the relegation zone. So, let's talk about it. It was an exciting match day 15 in the WSL that saw some very important games that are going to be quite crucial for how the table ends up looking like. Things kicked off with Chelsea taking on Manchester United. Now, this game was going to be defining, or at least very heavily important to the seasons of both clubs. United have been on a very impressive run so far. They were going into this game undefeated with away games that, unfortunately for them, got broken. They were also coming in with not a lot of goals conceded. Confidence was quite high, and most importantly, they hadn't conceded a single goal in that first half this entire WSL season. As we now know, Sam Kerr got her goal in the first half. For Chelsea, they were coming in incredibly wounded. Obviously, we do know Frank Kirby and Pernilla Harder are still out with their own injuries. Gura Wrighton, who currently holds the most amount of assists in the WSL this season, as well as Erin Cuthbert, and a very, very important role for the Chelsea squad, were both out and unavailable for the game. So Chelsea really coming in were heavily wounded. And for Manchester United, this was very much a golden opportunity to at least get some points off Chelsea. Despite dominating possession in that first half, they were playing with a very high line that got exposed on multiple occasions. Now, it's not an absurd idea to come out with a high line against Chelsea. In fact, a lot of teams do this and a lot of teams do get punished for it. But the issue here is that it was exploited on multiple occasions. Sam Kerr was very good in finding those pockets and making a run between both of the center backs, with either Millie Bright or Lauren James sending in a very long ball from way behind the halfway line. It could have been very much two simple passes from the goalkeeper, find somebody who's just slightly behind the halfway line and then launch it over to Sam Kerr, and they were finding some good spaces. For United, once that exploited at least twice in very fast concession, you have to drop the high line, or you have to at least make note of the fact that some of the players are not tracking back, some of the players are out of position. What can you maneuver? What formation could you shift? But that didn't happen, and that's exactly how they conceded that first goal, which was an absolute beauty of a goal, to be honest. Lauren James, against her former club, finds Sam Kerr. Sam Kerr, what an incredible touch she gets, and a little chip over Mary Earps, and there you go. Chelsea is just 1-0 up. They didn't need many chances. They didn't need many opportunities to go ahead of goal, but that clearly was something that they noticed. Send in a long ball, exploit that high line, make sure that Sam Kerr is able to beat both of the center backs, which she did on multiple occasions here. So for Chelsea, they did exactly what they needed to do, put in a goal, stay a little more compact in the second half, stay a little bit more kind of aggressive with the possession that they got. For United, quite disappointing, to be honest, especially in that second half. They had way too many turnovers. Katie Zellum herself had the most amount of turnovers, which is not the best kind of stat you want to have. Not only is she the captain, but in the midfield position and the role that she has with that United midfield is not a position you want to be causing a lot of turnovers. I'm not sure the substitutions really made an impact. I didn't necessarily see a shift in momentum. Leah Golton and kind of that Nikita Paris play on the wings does usually find a fair amount of success, but it was quite difficult for them to find any dangerous opportunities this time. Niamh Charles and Jess Carter did brilliant work, but I think also Buchanan behind them was shifting out wide and really supporting them, and I think that was the final click in that defensive side for Chelsea to put the wingers out and not really allow them in dangerous balls. I would have liked to see a little bit more movement in the middle. I would have liked to see Toon get a little bit more involved. She can get some really important balls and find some important pockets, but the ball wasn't necessarily finding itself in the middle, purely again because Zellum was not so efficient with her possession. They felt too comfortable putting the ball outside on the wide wings, and just some important questions for Skinner there. Again, why didn't he abandon the high line when it was exposed on multiple times? Why was there not a formation change going into that second half? The substitutions were not necessarily game-changing, and you're going up against a very heavily wounded Chelsea and you're not able to pick up any points. I think that's quite disappointing for United fans. There was definitely a penalty shout, however, for Manchester United that I think watching the replay and watching it closely, it's hard to say that it was not a penalty shout. There was definite clear contact. I mean, you're talking shin-to-shin contact, getting in the way of the movement, not so much on the ball at all. It also looked like the officials were in a good position to see that, so it's hard to rationalize how they didn't see it or they didn't catch it. But yeah, definitely the officials have been dipping in standards in some of these games. We're lacking to see any consistency between some of these calls. Chelsea is still undefeated against Manchester United in the WSL, so the streak for them continues. Some of the other streaks for United have been broken. The other kind of Manchester City and Brighton kicked off shortly after. For Brighton, after separating with Hope Powell, they had Jens Schroeder come in from Germany, but only a few days ago he also stepped down and separated, so they currently are stuck with an interim manager, but that did not stop them from having a very, very good and strong, actually 30 minutes of the first half, I thought. Khadija Shaw, being Khadija Shaw, caught her first goal in the 20th minute, and then just 10 minutes after that, City were quite poor in defending what was a Brighton equalizer. It was a wasted chance after wasted chance, and a wasted chance after wasted chance for City, and then, other than Bunny Shaw in the 90th minute to get that second goal and pull a win for the City side. This goal within itself was a historic moment, as Bunny Shaw now becomes the highest scoring City women's player in a single season. Bunny Shaw sitting with 25, there's about 7 or 8 match days to go, so the race for that golden boot is definitely not over, and Bunny Shaw is putting some very, very impressive records, and it's quite surprising to see not many people talk about how good she has been, and I think the jump that she had from last season to now is quite impressive. Obviously, Ellen White was in the picture last year, and Bunny Shaw wasn't necessarily getting the amount of minutes that she should have deserved, in my opinion. But physically, she just looks sharper. She looks a lot more stronger. She is bullying defenders. Her finishing is crisp. She's always in the right position, always in the right moment. And I think you really have to applaud her to what she has been doing. City was not the only team to come and have a comeback to grab 3 points, but so was Liverpool, who actually beat Spurs and put them on a 9th consecutive WSL loss. I mean, that is relegation form. In any kind of league, in any kind of competition, in any kind of context that you are talking about, 9 consecutive losses is relegation form. What's shocking is that this is arguably their best roster that they have had up to date. Skinner has been very poor in putting a playing style for Spurs. I mean, you watch them play and you honestly do not know what kind of game plan they have. They have been so incredibly poor in counterattacks, on turnovers, defensively, attackingly, in the middle, absolutely not able to hold any possession. You really have to start taking a look at Skinner and see what is going on behind training. And even if you put Skinner aside, a lot of these players are having such poor performances. I mean, they're not even able to put 5 passes together. And that's poor. If you're not able to put 4 or 5 passes together, I mean, how do you expect to put the ball at the back of the net? What kind of rondos, what kind of training drills are they running? What's happening behind the scenes that's causing a team that's arguably, again, had their best roster up to date, going 9 consecutive losses? I mean, that is shocking. By no means me saying that they gave Liverpool the easiest game, but Liverpool did deserve to win. Liverpool did deserve to have that lead in that first half. Liverpool had a midweek game. Liverpool are coming off 2 losses a game. So really, a lot of the odds are actually hitting Liverpool a little bit more than Spurs. Ayan, even though she did score, you have to look at her numbers and you have to look at the output and start to scratch your head a little bit. For Beth England, there's only so much that Beth England can do. Obviously, she had to get taken off a little bit because of her managed minutes, but there's only so much that striker can do. And again, this was another chance for Spurs to really try to get a result. Liverpool in their own are battling with some of injuries and they have a fair amount of important missing players. No result for them, however, as now they sit with 9 points, 2 points ahead of Leicester City, who are currently sitting bottom of the table. So not looking good at all. Speaking of Leicester, they were able to manage and get a point off of Everton. It was a 0-0 draw, really nothing too crazy happening in the game. Good to see them operating in a 2-3-1. So far, I think that is the best formation that has suited them up to this state of the season. Plumtree, an unsung hero in the back for them. I mean, what an absolute rock in that defensive line she is. But I do enjoy them operating a double pivot and kind of adding that a little bit more defensive support. So if they can go on, continue to build on this 4-2-3-1 operation kind of formation that they're able to put up, not a bad sign at all. For Everton, also a little bit underwhelming performance. Had some good chances moving forward. Had some good balls actually in the same box and in that area in the final third. Just nothing too dangerous. No one able really to finish and put something in the back of the net. West Ham and Aston Villa, that probably was one of the best ones today as well. An absolute cracker it is between the two. For every win, for every game that they have, it's the signing. I mean, they have been deadly. Rachel Daly and Jordan Nobbs both on the score sheet for this one. Jordan Nobbs ultimately to get that final winning goal for them. I mean, for Daly, what a strike that is. The Dolly Daly shenanigans stand forth even in the middle. I thought had a good game today. It's been looking really, really good. Was not an easy game for them today. West Ham did set up in a 4-4-1-1 kind of very low block formation. They were playing quite compact, and I think impressively they played compactly off and on the ball, which is something that some teams who do set up in more of a low block or that 4-4-1-1 type of formation do lose when they're off the ball. One thing that I do want to say is a very aggressive game. There was about 22 fouls called. It was some ridiculous number, but it's good. I love seeing good battles in the midfield like that. I like seeing fouls. I like seeing players obviously not getting injured, but kind of spicing it up, and I think West Ham and Aston Villa are the perfect matchup to do that. To end off the night was Arsenal and Reading. Arsenal comfortably beating Reading 4-0. It was an unpleasant night for the Reading captain Mukandi, as not only did she have an own goal of her own, but was also kind of caught off guard and a little bit out of possession in that fourth goal, which saw Leah Williamson get her first goal of the season. Interestingly, Noelle Marit was playing on the left back position. I actually thought there was good shades of that. I thought her and McCabe were combining pretty well. Not many false nines in the modern game, and definitely not many false nines in the WSL scene. So seeing her get into that position, I thought she did really, really well. Definitely some sitters that she could have finished, but overall, it's good to see kind of that false nine possessioning, kind of switching up a little bit. It's really, really good for Arsenal to know that they have players that can play in the midfield, that can play a little bit wide, that can play in that false nine possession. So for them to be able to realize that their players are quite versatile and adaptable is not a bad thing to have on your bench. Lena Hurting and Sabrina D'Angelo were also back from injury, so it's good to see some of the names are clearing up from that injury list. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions. Let me know your thoughts on this overall match day. How do you think Chelsea operated against United? Do you think United are going to be really beating themselves up for losing against a quite hindered and injured Chelsea? But you also got to give credit to them for being clinical and doing what they do best, which is expose and punish. That's Chelsea for you. As always though, to stay updated and to continue enjoying the beautiful game, make sure you subscribe to me here on YouTube and follow me on Twitter. All of my current episodes are also available for you for free to listen to on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so check those out as well, and I will see you later.